We are 27 days from Election Day, and 7 News is sitting down with all the congressional candidates from the metro area to help you on Election Day.
The questions that we ask come from us as well as from 7 News viewers. And tonight we hear from Danny Stroud, the Republican challenger for Colorado's First Congressional District. This question comes from a 7 News viewer. They want to know what issue that your opponent's party supports would you be willing to compromise on in a bipartisan way to move the country forward?
Well, I think one of the biggest issues that we have in this country right now is our lack of energy independence. I know there's a lot of pressure to not develop domestic energy policy or energy sources, and there's a lot of also pressure on the other side for alternate or green energy.
Sure.
I think the mix is somewhere in the middle. I mean, I'm not completely against alternative energies. I just don't think it's they're there. I don't think they're the primary, and I think that we need to make a compromise and get an all of the above type energy policy.
Is there any particular area, perhaps this one, that you see an opportunity for bipartisan cooperation on fiscal reform, let's say?
Well, yeah, I think that there's a lot of chance for improving the way our government spends money. I think that we have to take a hard look at the available revenues that we have now and looking at, like in the military, the Department of Defense. I mean, I'm a West Point graduate. I served a lot of time in the military, so I know there's inefficiencies and opportunities to improve the spending in the Department of Defense without compromising our national security objectives.
But compromising in a bipartisan way, perhaps, to get moving forward.
Sure. I think that we have to come together on things like waste and duplication and unnecessary programs, and this would be. You asked one area, I said the Department of Defense, but I think there's probably other areas also.
Let's talk about Metro State. As you know, they've recently changed their policy. They have a new tuition rate for illegal immigrants. It's not as high as the out-of-state. It is less than the in-state. It is an interesting situation. Do you support this particular decision?
Well, I don't know much about it because I'm running for Congress, and that's not really my purview, so but I'm aware of it. And I think that when we start to disenfranchise citizens in favor of, illegal aliens, if you want to call them, or illegal immigrants, we start to have a problem. Universities and colleges can charge whatever they want, but just don't ask other people to pay for those decisions.
All right. We know that there are dwindling resources for Colorado schools. And what do you think you can do in Washington to try to help those kids, K through 12, achieve the goals that they ultimately want to achieve? Well,
the reason we're having trouble in Colorado is there's a lot of pressure from the federal deficits and spending, and a lot of stuff comes down the pike from the federal government, puts pressure, mandates, if you will. We're going to see more of that with the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. What that does is that the state has to make decisions and make priorities, and it really puts a lot of pressure on the education budget. Even though I do think that they could probably improve the way they use their money also.
Right. On the other end of the spectrum, it's estimated that by 2033 that Social Security revenues will not be able to keep up with what's being paid out. What kind of reform do you think is necessary right now to try to avoid that?
Well, I think that we need to ensure that people that are either in the program or about to go into the program are protected. People have spent their entire life planning around those objectives. But now that we have a keen understanding that it's in trouble, we should make changes for those people going forward. Younger people have a different sort of pay-in program, restructure how it goes forward so that we can ensure that it's survivability in the long haul for everybody.
If you are elected, what's the number one thing that you want to get right after the first day you're in office?
Well, I think I'm right with Mitt Romney there. I think we need to stop this train wreck of the Affordable Care Act. It's going to put incredible pressure on business that already is with the uncertainty. I think that that's the one thing that we have to deal with right away because the impacts of that are starting to kick in already. And if we don't, there's nothing more permanent than a federal temporary program, right? Okay. So we need to stop that right away.
And what would you do to do that?
Well, I would support any bills that would be to give exemptions to all the states. I would support a repeal process, and I'm assuming Mitt Romney is going to be our president, and I will stand behind him in his efforts to basically defund and neuter that program.
All right, we want to give you 30 seconds to wrap up your thoughts, and you can talk directly to the voters if you want.
Sure. You know, our country's in a serious trouble with our debt and our spending, and we have to get control of our spending. We have to also get control of our federal government in terms of its encroachment through regulation and stifling of small businesses. We're crushing the middle class because businesses can't hire, they can't grow, they have this uncertainty. I think that we have to get our fiscal house in order. That's the one thing that will kill this country if we don't fix it right away.
If you'd like to see this interview again, we're posting it on our website, thedenverchannel.com. You just go to thedenverchannel.com, click on Democracy 2012.